Okay, we're back. I'm going to try and keep this one quite short. In this one, we're not doing anything Mordheim. We're moving on just for this week because I've still got stuff drying and I'm waiting for stuff to come through for the electronics and things like that. But I have built this. So I'll explain a little bit more where this is going to go as we go through the video. But this is what I'm started with. It isn't finished yet, obviously. But it's a display box for my new Dreadfjord book that I've written with my cousin. I'll show you what that looks like at the end, but it's to put on a stand, and I wanted something that was cool and funky and lit up, and I wanted to build it like a diorama. So I thought, yeah, let's do it on the video. So let's have a look. I'm gonna try something different with the video this week. I'll explain with that. Yeah, I'm gonna put myself in a box. Let's go. Right, okay, so I've been watching a lot of a channel called Greg Johnson Making. Check him out. He makes kind of film prop stuff rather than miniature stuff. He does some miniature stuff, but it's a bit tangential. But if you like seeing people make stuff, he's phenomenal. And he does this little him talking about it in a box. I quite liked it, so I stole it. I don't think he invented picture-in-picture though, so I don't think it really is theft. But to start the box, I wanted to, I needed this outside MDF box, MDF coat. So I used a website that I'm going to put the URL at the bottom because I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called MakerBox. But you put in your dimensions and it just creates the template for you to then throw through the laser cutter. It works really easily and is just absolutely brilliant. So I put on the laser cutter, had it cut it out, and I also cut out the Dreadfjord logo down the middle because I knew I wanted that to be yellow. Because they're the colours. It's kind of in the Merkborg universe, that kind of, it uses the Merkborg system, so it needed to be yellow. But I didn't want to paint it on because I wanted to put some lights behind it so that it lit up and was really cool. So I knew it had to be cut out, so I got the laser cutter to cut it out because that's just easier than trying to go around with a craft knife and things like that. And try and cut it out that way. So I put it on the laser cutter. It took quite a while to do all of the different pieces, but actually it's worth it. If you've got access to a laser cutter, definitely do that. So once it was done and everything was cut out, I bought these clear plastic sheets from Amazon, which they come all with the protective thing on, so I peeled those off and I stuck them down with UV resin. Whenever I do a resin pour anywhere, I always go around with UV resin to create like a dam, because resin, when you do the pour, will get everywhere. If there is any tiny leak, it will find it and it will leak out. So going around with UV resin is a really good way just to stop that, because you can cure it instantly with the UV torch and then it's ready. So I glued the sheets down with UV resin, so it kind of stuck it down and created the dam at the same time. Smart. Didn't take too long. It was nice and easy, really quick and easy way of doing it, and it will stick forever as well. So just, yeah, big dollop of UV resin around there, use the torch to stick it down, and then we're sorted. We've got that clear backing on, because again, I could have used cardboard, could use plywood, but putting that clear plastic on, firstly it allows the UV resin to cure. It wouldn't cure if I didn't put that on, but also it will allow me to put a torch behind it, or not a torch, but a light behind it, which will then look awesome, as you will see. Mixed up the two-part resin. The stuff that I'm using is 1-to-1 ratio by weight, which is nice and easy. You don't have to worry about volume. I put it in boiling water, in a bowl of really hot, nearly boiling water first, because that really loosens it up. Put in some bright yellow mica powder. I love a bit of mica powder. Put in that, mixed it in with just one part. So I mixed the mica powder in with part A or part B, I can't remember which one, it doesn't really matter. But you mix it into one part rather than trying to mix it into your mixed resin. That way you've got a bit longer. Foreshadowing. Okay, I had a look at the packet and it says 24-hour cure time, 8-hour dry time, not a problem, I thought. What I didn't read was the pot life, and I don't know what the pot life was because I couldn't find it, but after about 10 minutes, so by the time I've done the first Dreadfjord, by the time I get to the second Dreadfjord, it was already starting to set. Now, I don't know if that's because I put it into the warm water and it was curing a lot quicker, but it was really a race against time at the end to get the second one done. I managed to get it done in time, but yeah, it would check your pot life before you do it. It would have been much better to mix the colour in, do half a mix and then half a mix. I designed it with these USB slots in mind. These are the USB-C slots that I used in the boards. And this is my cool new tool, my Dremel drill press, which I'm really loving. Bought that with my birthday money. It's awesome. Designed it with those things in time, but I'll tell you why they didn't work in a little bit. I had a bit of a snafu. I want some forced perspective with my sides. I'm going to base the design, the diorama in this box on this image, which I'm hopefully going to put up on the screen now if I remember, which our illustrator Doin Seshuan did for the book. And this is kind of the Dreadfjord Cemetery. It's a big frozen landscape. And I want the inside to look like that, but I also want a little bit of forced perspective so that when people view it, it looks like they're going into it. So I'm just drawing out where I want that perspective there. Then I'm using some makeup brushes and a load of cheap acrylic paints just to kind of give it a bruised sky colour. You know, like when there's a storm come in and it's purples and pinks and greys. So just using these really cheap makeup wedges to do that. Then I realised actually I could just smear it on and then dapple it and get the same effect. So that was a lot quicker. I did 2 or 3 layers of this, and I might need to add some more later on once I've done the edges, but this just gives it a really good base for the sky that's kind of painted in before I do the rest. Then I bought these LED cob lights. This is where I make my first big mistake. These come and they're really good. You can cut them at any point. Now the first thing I needed was 5 volts. Most of the LED strips are 12 volts. I just want to be able to run them from a power bank, so I need 5 volts. But you can cut these at certain intervals. So I did. Then I realised, okay, if I'm going to cut them at certain intervals, I need to then solder them back together so I can put the wires in between and bend it. Not a problem. But my soldering skills aren't great and my soldering iron isn't the best. So for the second one, I decided actually I'm just going to cut one strip, bend it round at the end, and it'll be absolutely fine. And spoiler alert, it is absolutely fine. But it took me about 3 hours to try and solder these together and then to try and solder them to the USB ports. So just sticking, well, this is my second mistake, sticking everything down. I decided to stick it down with hot glue gun. There's no pressure on it. It's not going to be tugged or anything. It just needs to be tacked in place. When I put the foam work over it later for the design, for the diorama, that will hold it all in place. I didn't need to do this. You'll see why in a minute. But yeah, a lot of hot glue, a lot of burnt fingers. And then I realised, oh, I could just stick it down with sellotape. So I did. It's a lot easier. Over-engineering at its finest there, really. Just didn't need the hot glue gun, but stuck it down with sellotape. And then spent a lot of time trying to work out why I couldn't get the lights to light up properly. It's because my soldering iron was melting the USB-C chips that I was trying to connect them to. So in the end, I bought some new ones that are already wired. I got through 4 USB connectors before I decided, you know, I'm just gonna buy some different ones. So they were too small for that hole in the end that I've just drilled, but I made it work. Use wood glue on some of the tabs and then super glue on the others. The wood glue will hold it firm over time. The super glue holds it pretty immediately in place so that I could leave it and didn't have to sit and hold it. Just a really quick tip there. Again, got that from Greg Johnson as well. So wood glue for long term, super glue for short term. Keeps it nice and steady. Use my blocks just to keep it in place. And then because you can never have enough hot glue, put a bead of hot glue down the edge as well, and that just really tacked it in place as well. Because yeah, I don't want it to move. That's a lot of hot glue. Then I put the lights on, because I wanted to check that everything worked. You can see by this point I'd managed to get the proper USB socket in. Just bunged a load of hot glue on it to hold it in place because it was too small. Used the same connector clips that I used on the bottom of the Mordheim boards. Save having to solder all of the wires together. These Wago clips work really well. Just plugged everything in. It's now sorted. I can put that behind all of the foam work and not really have to worry about it again. I just didn't want any more soldering at this point. I was sick of it. And from this point on, pretty much I keep the lights on so that I can see if I have nudged or loosened any wires. Started to cut out the foam for the base and then mark out where I want the wires, where the big chunky blocks are that I've just put in, cut those out as well. All of this will be hidden anyway behind more foam, behind more hills and things like that when I get to that next week. That's kind of one of the problems with doing this weekly video, is that I'm only getting half projects done because I've got a job and because I'm only working in the evenings mainly, and because things just take ages to dry. Like the resin took a day to cure properly, and then the wood glue takes time, and then I'd use no nails like the contact adhesive in a minute, that takes time to cure. So it just all builds up. So I don't know whether I'm better to just wait until the project's finished, but then I do like doing it weekly. Marked where I want that forced perspective to go on the sides, again kind of where I'd done the sky coming in. Cut that out as well, and then it's not a straight cut, but it doesn't need to be. There's going to be a lot of work going on there. I'm not going to be using sculptor mold when I do this for the landscape, because of that I think will be too heavy, and I don't want all that water, even though I'm going to do it on foam, I don't want all that water near the MDF. So I'm going to use foam clay, which sets, but it sets soft. So I wouldn't be using it for battle boards, but I think it'll be absolutely fine for this. We'll find out next week. Once I'd cut the perspective for the walls, I then just sliced it in half. This world's wobbliest cut. I need to get a proper template, like a jig, to hold that up straight, because the cut just goes all the way down the middle, but it does what it needs to do. As you'll see in a second, there's space anyway behind them where the lights are. But once they were cut in half, I could then mark where they need to go, because the lights are quite chunky, so they don't quite fit right up against the wall, which again is fine. I'm going to build a frame around the front. If you've ever played any like point and click games like Monkey Island or Day of the Tentacle or things like that, there's always kind of a really foreground thing that makes you look like you're looking into a world. So I want to put a foreground border which will hide those gaps in the edges and things like that. Used contact adhesive to stick them down. Don't worry, I do realise in a minute that I've stuck that the wrong way around for the forced perspective. That's why I like contact adhesive. You can't use hot glue gun with foam because it melts the foam as well. You can't really use super glue because a lot of super glue melts the foam. Just contact adhesive is really strong and it sticks. It just takes longer to cure, but you do get a bigger working time, which, as I said, I put this on backwards, so you need that working time. Don't worry, it's coming. And I sat there and thought, why does that look weird? Why does it look like the wall's coming towards me? And then I just twigged and realised what it was. Oh, good focus work there as well. Yeah, nice little gap, but that'll be hidden. I'll build the walls, don't worry. It'll all be covered up. There we go, figured it out. Clever Matt. And all those bits at the back will be pushed down. And then I just cut some batons as well out of foam just to really strengthen those corners. I put one across the back as well, but I don't think I videoed that. Just to hold those things down at the bottom. I'm not gluing this into the wood yet because I want to be able to take it out to sculpt it if I need to. I'm hoping to be able to do it all inside the box, but just in case I need to take it out, I don't want it glued down because then I can start to build everything up into it. Yeah, and this is what it will look like with the booking, so just getting a bit of spatial awareness of where that book is going to go, where I can build the hills around it. And that's pretty much all I got done this week. So next week I'm going to come back, I'm going to sculpt all the hills, we're going to paint it, we're going to get it absolutely finished next week. I need this done in time for the end of November for Dragon Meet. If you're at Dragon Meet, come and say hi, you'll be able to see it. But yeah, you know, I will see you next week and we will finish this off, and I'm hoping all my stuff will have arrived for the other boards and we can make some progress on those as well next week. Right, I'll see you in a week.